everybody, it's Ryan Metzler here again, and today we're going to take a look at a game that's been hitting my table quite a bit. It's from the designer of Trains, and I'm sure everyone else in the world has reviewed it by now, but we're going to look at Hisashi Hayashi's Yokohama, published by Tasty Minstrel Games. Now, this is a deluxe copy. You're probably not going to get your hands on a deluxe copy at this point in time, but take a look at the normal copy. So, real quick, why don't we take a look at how this game plays? We'll talk about what you need to do to win, and then we'll come back here at the end and we'll get my opinions on Yokohama. So here you can see Yokohama all set up. Now with fewer players, there'll be fewer of these tiles out in the board, so you'll have fewer places to go to, but in general, all of the actions that you'll be able to do in the game stay the same. Now each player has their own little tableau, and please note that I have the deluxe edition with an added token holder and an insert, so you won't get a lot of these components if you buy the normal edition. Most of what's wood will be cardboard, and these pieces will be cubes instead. So just note that the components will be different, gameplay exactly the same. So each player is going to have a tableau. Mine is held in these little trays. They're going to start with 2 of the shops they can build. They're going to start with a bunch of their assistants that they're able to use. And they are going to start with 1 of each good. In addition, they're going to have their president, which is the large meeple, a scoring disc, an order card, which they'll have drafted from 2 different order cards. This player decided to take one for 1 fish and 3 silk. That also has a German flag on it, and it's worth 2 victory points, a money, and a import good. I don't remember what they're called. I think they might be called imports. In this other area here, so everything they have is on the left-hand side of this tray. Everything they are able to get is on the right-hand side. So there's more assistants, more of the shops, and some trading houses that they'll be able to purchase in order to put onto the board later. Now, Yokohama is going to take place over a series of rounds, and in the rounds, each player is going to take turns, just around and around and around the table until the game ends. And on a player's turn, they're going to do several things. The first thing they'll do is they're going to place some assistants out on the board. You may either place 3 assistants on 3 different spaces, or 2 assistants on 1 space. So, for example, this player could place assistants in these 3 random spaces. Alternately, if they didn't want to place 3, they could put 2 in 1 space. So every turn, you're going to either place up to 3 in 3 different spaces, or 2 in 1 space. So maybe this player decides to do this. Okay. After they've done that, they're going to place or move their president. So in the first round of the game, you're going to place your president because he's not on the board yet. He can be placed on any one of the spaces where you have an assistant. For example, right here. When you're done with your president's movement, you're going to be activating a tile. So on this turn, he would activate this tile. On a future turn in moving your president, you must move your president along a connected chain of your own assistants and end where you have at least 1 assistant. So for example, if I were to take this action, this guy would no longer be here. On my next turn, I'd be able to add 3 more guys, or 2 in the same space, and move along a chain to end where I have at least 1 guy. After I've done my movement, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take the action associated with the tile that I'm on. And there are many different actions on each of these tiles. Many of them simply generate resources, and there are 4 key resources in the game, being tea, I think it's copper, fish, and silk. And so you'll see tiles here and here for copper. Fish is here and here. We have tea in 2 different locations, and there's also silk in 2 different locations. When you take an action on a tile, you're going to look at how much power you have there, and you're going to count the pieces of wood, or in the base game, without all of the extra components, the pieces of wood and cardboard that you have at that location. And when you do so, that's going to be your power level. So in this case, I have 1, 2 power. I then look at the action, see 2 power, I would get 2 fish. So that's how an action kind of works in this game. Now there are several other actions. Some of them allow you to take contract cards, which you saw here. And these are going to be cards that you're trying to fulfill in order to get victory points, and also the flags that are on them in order to earn bonuses. So if you have 2 power, you can get a low-level card off of the appropriate board. So this is the dock board right here, so you can get the low-level cards. Higher power will get you higher cards, and the highest power will get you even higher cards, as well as some victory points. In addition, when you take this action, you can actually pay money or an import good to take a second card of the level that you are allowed to take. This one produces money, much like the other ones produce resources. This one here is similar to this one here in that it lets you take the contract cards, but it lets you take them from the port management board as opposed to the dock management board. The one here and the corresponding one right here allow you to take technology cards, and technology cards will give you benefits in the game. For example, this one here gives you 10 points and a German flag. Or this one here will give you the ability that anytime you take one or more copper, you get an extra copper. So these are going to be benefits throughout the game or victory points at the end. Again, for each power you have here, you're able to have 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. And then you can add on to this by spending money or import goods to get additional spend in this area. And these cards will cost their base cost, for example, 5, 3. This one costs 3 plus 1, 5 plus 1, 3 plus 2, 3 plus 2. So you'll see there are modifiers the newer the cards are to the board. And these are just different boards based on the two different tiles for that benefit. We're going to come back to these two right here. This one right here is a trading house. So based on how much power you have there, you're able to convert resources into money or money into resources, as well as buy the import goods, which we'll talk about their benefit later. But you've already seen that they're able to be used to kind of benefit other actions or make them better. Down here is an area that lets you get more stuff from this reserve area of your board. So based on how much power you have, you're able to remove things from this area and add them to your general supply. So if you have 2 power, you can remove 1 thing, 3, 2, and onward and upward. So you'll see here that the little guys are free. They don't cost anything except for the ability to move them. So you can take them off of here for 1 move and move them over to here, having them available so that you can have more guys on the board. The shops and the trading houses cost money, and it's $2 for each shop that you want to move, and these start at a base of 4 and get more expensive as you remove them. Now, the last 2 types of tiles we haven't talked about are the church tile and the customs tile, and these are for endgame scoring. Now, when you come to the church or the customs, based on your power, you're going to earn a base level of points at the church, or you're going to have to turn in some import goods at the customs. At the church, you can earn up to 5 points, and then you can add on to this by trading in 1 each of tea, fish, $2, copper, silk, or an import good to add 1 additional point to this per type of good you get rid of, up to 11. This will allow you to send an assistant to the church board up here, and based on whatever your value is, as I said, up to 11, you would put a guy out here and you would get this many points at the end of the game. Or immediately, you could do it either way. Additionally, whoever has the most majority on this board will get 6 extra points at the end of the game, and 3 points for second place. When you place on here, you'll note there's an additional icon, and this is an icon saying that you may move 3 guys around the board or add 3 of your assistants onto the board, breaking a normal rule which we haven't talked about just yet. And that is that whenever you place guys, if you place where someone's president is at, you owe them $1. So you can break that rule and place where their president is without paying them $1 in this scenario. The customs board allows you to discard import goods that you have, and in doing so, obviously being able to discard up to 4, you'll get the victory points here and whatever benefits are printed on here, such as money or the ability to move things from your reserve into your actual stockpile. These are also going to score a majority at the end of the game, 8 for the most on this board and 4 for the second, with further to the right breaking ties. So you're going to take your turn by placing your 3 guys or 2 guys, moving your president along the chain, taking the action of whatever tile you land on with the appropriate power, and then you're going to see if you resolve the 5 power, which is a special thing that you may get. That 5 power allows you to take this tile, if it's still here, and get the benefit printed on them. Many of them are import goods, so you'll see the little crates here, and you would simply get the import good and put it in your own area to use for whatever you'd like later. Some of them tend to be resources, for example, fish, tea, or various other things, and occasionally I believe there's some money, there it is right there, that you would get for taking the 5 action or having 5 power. If you're the second person to get 5 power, it doesn't do this for you because the tile's already gone. However, after you've resolved that and gotten this tile, if you qualify for it and it's there, you have the opportunity to take what's called a build action. And that's only if you've got 4 or 5 power. You'll see the little houses on the indicators there. When you have this, if you haven't already built a building there and you have one available to build, you may build either a shop or a trading house at that location. Building the shops and trading houses are going to allow you to place them out here on these little spots, if you don't have anything there already, and get the associated action. Note that these also add to your power and oftentimes will add to a victory condition that's on the board. The trading shops, or the trading houses, when placed here, may score you victory points, and often they do. I think always they do. But also when other people take an action at that location, you're going to earn a money from the bank. After you've finished any build action you may qualify for, you're going to do the recover portion of your turn, and that means pulling all of the assistants off of the spot where you just took your action and returning them to your supply. Now that you're done with that, play will pass to the left, but there are certain special things that you can do on your turn outside of this normal turn order. Those are, you may fulfill contracts. So if you have, for example, 1 fish and 3 silk, you may, before your turn of adding your guys or after finishing your build, complete your contracts and get the rewards at the bottom. This is also when you accumulate these flags, like the German one here, or if you've acquired technology cards, you will already have some of those flags. For every 2 flags that you have of the same country, you'll earn a secret agent, and that's these little tiles over here. If there's a secret agent left of the right country, you will take that secret agent and put it into your own area. These secret agents can also be used on your turn as special extra turns. And so what these allow you to do is to activate one of them and activate a tile as if your president were there. You can do this before or after your normal turn. So if I had this secret agent before or after my normal turn, I can activate him and say, I want to use this tile as if my president were there. So I'm going to have 3 power, and that would get me 1 copper. The last extra thing you can do on your turn, or not last, but the only other extra thing you can do on your turn is to satisfy one of the objectives that you see up here. And these change from game to game, much like these cards will be randomized and the order of these tiles will be randomized. So this says if you have 5 copper in your supply, you can get 8 points if you're the first person, or 6 if you're second, third, or fourth. This is if you've gotten 5 combined of the 5 build tiles or the secret agents, so you get 9 points, or 7 if you're second, third, or fourth. And this is having built buildings on 2 of the work areas, so the ones that produce resources, and 3 of the administrative areas that kind of give you new cards or things like that. So 10 points or 8 for second, third, or fourth. One last thing that I've talked about, or didn't talk about, is there's one tile here that says that you're able to pay $1 to move through this area. That's because usually when moving your president, you are not able to move onto an opponent's area, and you're not allowed to move through an opponent's president without paying them $1. So you have to pay $1 to move through. This is a way to pay that to the bank instead of to the player. The game will go on round and round the table, players taking their actions until one of 4 possible things happens. Now, the first one is that you will run out of the ability to replenish customs or order cards from this deck. So that's the one that I've always seen happen. The other ones are that someone has built all 4 of their shops, or all 8 of their shops, or all 4 of their trading houses. It could be that someone has put 6 workers total onto either this board or this board, so there's 6 total on either of these 2 boards. And that is how the game will end, one of these ways, but it's always these order cards from what I've seen. And at the end of the game, whoever has the most points will be the winner. Now, you'll accumulate those points through a variety of things. They're all printed on your board. So it's these 2 boards here. The number of technology cards you have. If you have the most points in technology cards, you will get a lot of points for that. You will get them for different sets of flags that you have. So having 1 each of the flags is worth quite a few points. And then leftover resources are worth points at the end of the round, or the end of the game. So through that manner, whoever has the most points will win. And there you have it. That is Yokohama from Hisashi Hayashi and Tasty Minstrel Games. So this is a game that, as I said earlier, has been hitting my table quite a bit. I had the regular version. I liked it so much that I went out and got the deluxe version, and as you can see, I've even gone further to pimp it with an insert. So no surprise here that I like the game quite a bit. Now, in traditional Euro style, there is not a ton of direct player interaction here, although I don't think I mentioned, or maybe I did briefly, that you're not able to stop your president where somebody else's president is already at. So there can be some blocking that goes on there, although there is a technology card that will let you break this rule as well. Beyond that, there's a little bit of interaction in the aspect of taking different contract cards or technology cards that another player may want. As I said, standing on a location they may be interested in, or beating them to a objective or a location on the church or customs board. So that's most of what you're going to see in terms of interaction. Now, of course, the game is mostly about maximizing your route building and kind of the way you move around the board. And if you can get these secret agents and utilize those effectively, you get extra actions, and a lot of Euros are about extra actions. And it works really well in this game. The game, I know it took a little while to explain, but it's not complicated at all. It's very easy to learn. My one criticism may be that while we've played several times at this point, and there are supposed to be various endgame conditions such as building all of your buildings or putting 6 guys onto a particular board triggering the end. I've never seen that happen. Point scores tend to be pretty close, although I've seen that most of the players will cluster in one spot and one player may fall behind, but that may be a factor of the fact that we typically tend to have at least one new player playing a game when we do so. Anyhow, this is a great game, one that I highly recommend for a medium-ish Euro, but one that offers quite a bit of replayability and interesting options. So if that sounds good to you, check it out. That's Yokohama.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.